Hello, podcast family. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm your host, Rocky Roark, and today I have an amazing guest, Mike Jones, a spectacular designer extraordinaire and the creator of Creative South, one of my favorite conferences to go to. You may have heard me talk about it in the last few episodes. He is an amazing human being, and he is here today to talk to us about design, Creative South, and a whole lot more. Hey, Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it and glad to be here and just look forward to hanging out for a bit. So
awesome. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself for those of you who might not know who Mike is?
For sure. Hey, I'm Mike Jones, as he said, and I have been doing design for, 23, something like 23 years now. Wow. Time flies. And I don't know. I'm mainly doing like branding and lettering and some illustration stuff. And I'm the senior brand guy over at Heyo. It's an agency I get to work at with some real dear friends of mine, Rob and Peter, and got my awesome teammate Daniel over there. We get to work on brands all the time. And I just enjoy that. And then in my spare time, I have wife, 4 kids, dog, house, all the things. I also run a design conference called Creative South, which he just mentioned. And we also run a foundation called the Creative South Foundation. And I've had so many other things going on, but that's kind of the quick version of who I am and what I do. And I don't know what else, I obviously love to eat. So I don't know what else you want me to say.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Yeah. So to give everybody a little bit of background, we both met. Can you believe it'll be 11 years in April?
Serious?
Yeah. 11 years ago in April, it'll be since we first met at my very first Creative South. Yep.
My youngest son would have been 2.
Yep.
That's crazy, man. Come on, dude. 11 years has passed. That's nuts. That's a long time for anybody to know someone. Oh, yeah. So that's pretty cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Wow. I remember back then you had a lot more darker hair in your beard.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I still have dark hair in there somewhere a little bit.
Hey, at least you can grow facial hair. I can't even grow facial hair, so I'm jealous of what you do.
There's a lot of upkeep and a lot of clearly I need to do that more. But yeah, I wasn't gray back then. That says a lot of all the things that have happened in my life. But if you think about it, in that time span, 3 of my kids are grown and out the house. Yep. My youngest, who was 2 then, is now 13. So, that'll gray you out real quick, which you're now finding out. You'll start seeing it come in here. But yeah, I can't believe it's been that long.
I know. To give a little bit of backstory, at the time I was a senior in college.
Yeah, I remember you were about to get out of school.
Yeah, I had just finished up my senior portfolio. So at that point, after the day that I drove with some other people from my university out to Creative South, I was basically done at that point. I had done my last big hurrah for design program. I was just waiting on getting the final grades for everything else. And so, I was relieved, but then also completely stressed out about what the future holds.
For sure. Like we all are at that age in that time part. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely crazy to look back at that time and to see like that mindset that I was in. And I don't know if you remember this, but the day that we arrived there, I had no idea what the etiquette would be for going to a design conference. Yeah. I showed up looking like a frat guy with khaki pants on and a polo. And I don't even think I had a change of jeans or anything or t-shirts. And so as soon as I realized, oh crap, I am, completely overdressed for this.
Right.
I grabbed one of the Creative South t-shirts and I put it on instantly. I was like, I gotta get this polo shirt off, because that wasn't who I was. I was not the type of person who would show up like that. However, I had no idea what was going on, what like it would be like and everything.
Well, I mean, in transparency and all fairness, we were just figuring it out too. If you think about it, like we were still young in the game and trying to figure
Hmm.
out what did it look like to host people. So
Yeah.
I think it was a learning opportunity for everyone. But I do remember that, man. That's funny that you brought that up. Golly, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's crazy too because and this is the power of these conferences, especially Creative South, is that you could go there not knowing anybody. And within a short period of time, you're probably have already talked to, half a dozen people who, are legends in their industry. I remember, within a short period of time, I had talked to the Hood Sisters. I had talked to Lenny Terenzi, Peter Del Tondo, who also became a very close friend. A lot of people who, really have influenced, my career path and my life, especially yourself,
Same,
and
man.
everything.
Think about that. Like it's crazy
Hmm.
the amount of people that we have met over the last 12. Well, literally, it's been over 14 years
Yeah.
since we started it. How many folks have impacted not just both of our lives in the ways that they have, but like those people's lives and all the
Hmm.
folks that come there. The stories I've heard of what it meant to come down and be a part of Creative South and become part of that family. And it's become a family out of an event, which is wild. But I've just seen it. I've heard it, seen it, had it happen in my own personal life. I would say the majority of my inner circle are folks that I have met at Creative South over the last 10 years. Those are the folks I talk to every single day, and
Yeah.
so that's exactly what we wanted to do with it. That's the whole reason that Creative South is there, is that foster that community and that fellowship and to build relationships and not just network. Like it's not, if you're coming to network, you're doing it wrong. This is probably not the event for you. You need to go to a much bigger event. And there's plenty of
I
good ones.
think like networking is like 20%, maybe 25% of what Creative South is versus the others. It is about that community. It's about learning, but it's also about feeling accepted.
I hear that,
It's
man.
not,
I hear that all
yeah,
the time.
it's not just about, because a lot of times, at least what I remember, especially when I was younger in the design community, you feel like an outsider a bit, especially if you're working at a large organization.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they still think of the design program as the nerds, the geeks, the outsiders and everything
Not
because they think
necessary.
differently. Yeah, like they're
Yeah,
not,
I'm with you.
they're not needed sometimes, or
Yeah.
stupid stuff like that. And so when you go to events like Creative South, you get to feel accepted almost instantaneously.
Oh man, I
You get
appreciate
to
you saying that.
feel, yeah, you really get this feeling of acceptance, this feeling of belonging. You feel like you found your people, so to
I
speak.
want it to feel that way. I
Yeah.
purposely want it to like. I try to design. I try to have it where, how do I want to feel if I'm the person that's paying to be there? Right. That's the
Hmm.
whole mindset of as I'm putting it together. And I always tell people like, well, what's it like? I've never been. I always equate it to this. It's like going to your grandma's house for Sunday supper. She comes out, she hugs your neck, and she prays over you, and then you get to kind of like have lunch for 3 days with like 800, 5, 6, 7, 800 of your cousins, your favorite cousins, and just sit there and it's that's the kind of vibe that I feel like we've fostered very well over the years, and I feel like a lot of it is why people come back,
Hmm.
and not just that, having amazing lineups every year, really trying to foster those connections with those industry leaders. So there's time to get in there and actually have a conversation with them, and not just like hear them speak, but like hang out with them and
Hmm.
have build those relationships with those people as well. So I think it's a kind of a mix of all that, but I appreciate you saying that very much. That's the vibe that we want to continue with.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I've said this to you, but the one thing that I still am very proud of is I feel like I'm the one that coined the term, come as friends, leave as family.
I
I
think
still
you
remember.
you and Lenny are gonna have to fight over that.
Oh, we'll fight because
Oh,
I
I want
told
to hear
Peter
that. I want to
that.
hear that
Yeah.
conversation next time y'all talk to him, because I think he would disagree with you, but I think he would I want to hear it because it could be.
Because Lenny was there. Lenny was there
I
when I said
remember.
it. It was
Yeah.
because it was with Peter Del Tondo. We were at the hotel at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's
talking in
always
the
in the early morning.
lobby.
It's always early.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's always early. You go to Creative South, and believe it or not, the funnest parts for me have always been in the hotel lobby, because then everyone kind of migrates there after like
Oh, yeah.
they're out having drinks or they're hanging out with other people. And so you have these very, very like good conversations
After the
with
bar's
everybody.
closed,
Yeah.
there's
After
nothing
the
else
bar
going
is
on.
closed.
And you know
Yeah.
what's awesome is like not 1 year has that hotel ever come down and said, be quiet. We've never like
Yep.
nobody's ever complained about us or nothing. It's just like, we're going to take over your entire lobby with as many people as we can have. And it'll go until it goes. And I'm telling you, man, I've walked through and been like, hey, y'all, and then gone to bed. I've walked through and I've hung out for hours. I've done all of it. And it is always a hot spot to be at night if you really want to connect and hang out. People will sit down there for hours and hours and just chat. It's fun to watch.
There's been so many great conversations had there. I know some people have even like formed partnerships, in the lobby, communicating and everything.
Oh yeah.
And I still, one of my favorite memories is that same night where me and Peter were talking, I mentioned that phrase. Was it Sean West or Sean McCabe? I can't remember.
Yeah.
He changes his last name. Yeah. He was there playing piano, if I'm not mistaken, just playing piano.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was forever. That was long.
Yeah. It's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now I could be combining two nights from two separate years, but I do remember. It all kind of like goes together. Because what is this? This is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, so this is actually going to be like, I think 10 or 11 because of the pandemic.
That's 12.
Because of the pandemic. Yeah. So this is the, those were the only years that, I didn't go. And that's because Creative South wasn't happening at that time.
For sure. So,
yeah.
It'll be you've been to all of them, every single one?
Yep, every single one since
except
2013. Yeah, except for the first one.
Okay, so this will be your 11th one. It'll be year 12 for us to have it, and we've been in existence for 14 years. Which is
that's just crazy.
Wow, man, to have it longer than one of my children's been alive. This has been around. So
yeah, let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about what inspired you to kind of start Creative South?
For sure. I have been following along a couple of conferences younger in my career. There was a conference called Montreal Meets, run by a guy named, I believe it was Francis is his name. I'm going to get that wrong, but I was watching what he was doing up in Canada, and I knew I would never get up there for that. And then I was watching what Jeff Finley was building in Ohio, called Weapons of Mass Creation Fest, WMC Fest.
That's right.
And then I was going to Adobe stuff. But, I'll tell you, I was going to like Macromedia conference, doing like, the Flash and the freehand and all the stuff.
Oh, God.
And then Adobe bought Macromedia, and then it became Max. And then I started going to all these Max. And I think I've been to like 9 of those. And
dear God,
I know, dude, but I was getting sent, so I was like, I'll go. It was a good time. But as I would go to those, and I was hearing, and I was keeping track of the smaller ones, I was like, well, I need to go to I need to go to a smaller event and see what it's like, because Max was great, and it is great. I love it. I have a great time. Hats off to Adobe for putting on a dope event, but it is large. It's 15, 16,000 people. You're gonna network there. You're gonna be passing cards, because that's about all you like. You'll make some connections, because I have like a small crew that I've hung out with over the years that we keep track of each other, but it's not the same kind of relationship building that we're doing at Creative South. It's just because there's so many more people. There's like lots more folks. But I had gone to a Max, and then I came back and I decided I was going to go out to WMC Fest. So I got up to Cleveland on their second year of having that, and it was 20 speakers, 20 designers in an art show, and about 40 punk bands in one weekend. And, and it was just wild to see, like, breakdancing going on and music going on, but then you had designers on the stage talking, then you had a big art show going on. It was just like this awesome vibe with good food, good drinks, and just good time and fellowship. And I felt, even being from here and going all the way to Ohio, when I got there, I still felt at home, like they were very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was just a cool vibe. And I was like, man, I can do that. Like I could do that, something like that in my town. My town could host something like this. I could never do a max, I don't think, because back then we only had one hotel in downtown. Now we have 6. So maybe we could get bigger, but I think you lose a little something when you grow to that size. But I came back from max, called up a buddy of mine. I said, hey, I'm going to do this. Do you want to help me out? And he jumped in a little bit, and we decided we were going to do it on a half a day event. Is about all we could figure out how to pull together. Like we had zero knowledge of anything, no money, no knowledge, no whatever. So I called Jeff Finley and I called Von Glitchka out of the blue. And I was like, hey, I follow both your works. I follow you guys on Dribbble. I love what you're doing. Will you come down to Columbus and speak for an afternoon to whoever will show up? We had no clue how it would even go. Because it wasn't like we were selling tickets online back then. It was just like tickets at the door, because we didn't know it. Like just show up, you pay your money, you come and hang out. So it was like somebody's going to show up, somebody might not. We don't know. And we had it at the Doubletree Hotel on Airport Thruway in the ballroom. And I think I had some donuts, some coffee, and some cookies, kind of situation. We had some hats made and some T-shirts, and we called it the Artist Roundup. And it was 2 speakers, and it was half a day, and 45 people showed up.
Wow, 45.
45 people showed up. And, at that point, I was like, we did this thing. Oh, my God. We're like high-fiving, 45 people. This is so dope. And then I just remember it took so much effort and so much time away from the family to plan a half a day event. And I mean, we couldn't pay for flights. We couldn't pay for, it was really just piecemeal. And I remember looking at my buddy and I was like, hey, if we're going to do this next year with all the time that it took to put this together, we gotta at least double the amount of people we're going to have on stage.
Yeah. Get
a bigger spot. And then offer things like catered lunch or something. Like that's how big I was thinking, And we did exactly that. We doubled the amount of speakers the next year and kept going and had lunch for everyone. And I think we had about 65, 70 people show up that year.
Yeah.
And when that was over with, I was like, if we don't go bigger, I'm done. It's just too much work. And at that time I was working full time for a company as their only designer and trying to plan at night, and I had, a newborn, and it was just a lot going on. And I might have even still been playing professional arena football back then. Like I can't remember. I think I might have even been still doing something like that. So I had my hands in a lot of things, even like I do now, obviously. But that's the year that Draplin came in, and James White and
Signal Noise.
I think the Hoods were there that year. We had an awesome
We're now in 2013, right?
2013, year 3. Yeah. And we had it at the loft and kind of took over the whole building.
Matt Helm, Nick Slater.
It was so many fun folks on that lineup. Some of them are just dear friends of mine now, which is awesome. But 200 people showed up that year. And then year 4, we had 400. And then the year 5, we had 550. And then year 6, it was 650. And then at one point, I think I had, back when they first started doing not when we first started doing it, but probably the second or third year we did the bridge party, I think I had 1,200 people on the bridge one year. And that was because we had our attendees, but we had so many other folks crash that party. It was fun. But now it's post-COVID, it's a little different. And we're trying to reset for a little more intimate setting, 300, 400, 500 people, and just see where we're at, and just keep enjoying the fellowship and keep building those relationships and that sort of thing, and keep being inspired. So that's kind of how it got started and how it kind of grew, just out of the love for the community. And the whole point was we needed FaceTime, man. we do this, like what we're doing right now, all the time. All the time
Mm-hmm.
we're on, people working remote, you're always on the camera, you're always looking at everyone. We do plenty of this, and we need to be doing more FaceTime, more face to
Yeah.
face. That's just how humans are supposed to live, man. And so that was the other thing. Like, let's put an event together that brings us all together and has that FaceTime. So that's kind of the beginning story behind it.
Yeah, and I remember going from 2013, that first year that I went. That year, there were so many speakers in such a short time that you actually had to pick and
Yeah, that was a
choose
mistake.
which one to go to. And I will always remember, I can't remember what the person's name was that was speaking, but my friend of mine, who we went there together, we sat down for his talk and we realized it was
Train wreck.
not what we wanted to. Huh? Which
Bro,
one?
I'm not going to name names either, but I know exactly who you're talking about. And it's one of those
But
stories where you're like, there's sometimes in some years you're just trying to have speakers that just don't fit and don't work out, and you don't really, like, as you're growing something, you don't really notice that until like you hear
mhm,
the horror story of what goes down in the room you're not in, and then you're like,
yeah.
oh no, please tell me you're kidding. And I remember that. Go ahead, because I have a
Yeah.
feeling you're going to tell that story.
Well, from what I remember, it was very corporate. It was the person was very corporate in the way that
Very.
they were talking, and so we were in the back of the room, and so we were like, okay, let's actually go to the next room to the other speakers. Well, the other speakers were the Hood Sisters,
Yes.
and
I know
I will
exactly
always remember
what's
the
happening.
guy called us out
Mm-hmm.
as
Yep.
we're going into the other room, and he's like, "It's okay, guys. I understand they're hotter than me. It's totally makes
It was
sense."
such
And I,
an awful comment for him to make. And
yeah.
yeah, that was an interesting. That was an
And
interesting
I don't know
incident.
if that's exactly what he said, but it was something along those lines. And we were like, we stopped ourselves. We're like, wait, do we go? Do we stay? What? So we just
Oh,
went.
you chose right. You chose right.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I heard a lot about that from everyone in that particular session. But like I said, there's going to be years where like
mhm.
things happen. Like
Oh, yeah.
if you're an organizer, and I have several buddies that are, it's not always going to be everything's hunky dory. Like you're gonna have fires that happen
Mhm.
like that, and you just gotta roll with it. I mean,
Yeah.
now, like looking back, like I should have like vetted a little better, but you a lot of times you're like, oh, this person's fantastic, and you take that from somebody that you've already vetted as like
Mhm.
their word, and I just challenge the people who are going to watch this that if you are doing an event or you are an organizer and you don't do this, like no matter what, if you trust a person or not, vet all day.
Yeah.
Like just check it out, like make sure that it's the best fit for the attendees and for your organization. But it is definitely makes for interesting stories later on down the road. And yeah, that year was something special though, man, because that year is when like it clicked. Like that's when the,
Mhm.
the actual the actual name of the conference started work. Like that's when we started calling it Creative South. That's when like we had a social presence finally, and like it was getting talked about. And like from then on there, from that time point on, it kept growing and growing, and people just kept becoming followers of what was going on and being part of it. And
Mhm.
it's been such a blessing in my life to not only put that on for other people and see the lives changed from the connections made, but for my own life, man. Like it's been a blessing to have people added to my life that have made a huge impact on not only my family and my kids and the way that I do life, but like my growth as a creative has been
Mhm.
tenfold. I mean, the stuff I've learned from people that I've met has made me the designer I am today. I mean, period.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like you pick up so much.
It's great. Like even to the point where like I've been best man in a wedding. I've had kids named after me. Like half of these people are uncles or aunts to my kids themselves.
Mhm.
So, it's exactly how I want everybody to understand. Like when you come, when you come to the conference, I want you to build these relationships. So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
No, it makes total sense. And the thing is too, I've gone to many of the different conferences,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I've gone to Circles conference. That was I think the next one I went to after Creative
Yeah.
South was Circles. I've been to a pop-up crop con. I have actually been to the
Bro,
actual
you better come
crop
on now.
conference.
You
I know.
better.
I'm
I'll
like,
see you. I'll see you in April. Don't even
I
shake your
know. I'm
head.
like trying to convince my
Just,
wife to
just say,
allow me
look,
to.
Mike Jones says I gotta be there.
Yeah, I know. I am going to be going to Config in the summertime, so I am going to another conference
That's
this
a
year.
great one too.
Yeah. And I will say this, like out of all the conferences I go to, I always prefer the smaller ones. Just like what you're talking about, where you're talking about going to Adobe Max versus going to Weapons of Mass Creation. Is that still going on, by the way? Or is
No,
it done?
no, they
Okay.
did 10 years worth, and
Hmm.
then it just kind of the people that were in charge of it had other things going on. So that is
Yeah.
what it is, and I miss it. It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. But I went to I didn't get a chance to go to that one, but I've been to three Adobe Maxes.
Good
Even
times.
was a vendor there for each of
Nice.
those years. And honestly, when you compare, because when I look at Adobe Max or How Conference, I don't even know if How is even still doing their conference or not. I look at those as conventions. That's the best way of describing them because they're so big, they're so massive, and it's exactly yes, it's creative, yes, it's for creative professionals. However, it's the stereotypical convention type feel when you look at it. Whenever you watch TV shows and you see them going to a convention, like a great example is The Office when they go to, I don't know if you've watched it or not,
Yeah, oh
but they
yeah, I
go
love that
to a
show.
convention, and it's like that's exactly how Adobe Max is in my mind. And so going to Creative South, going to Circles conference, going to, all these smaller, conferences, they feel more intimate. They feel, less massive. They feel like you're able to just relax. You're able to take in more information, and you're also able to meet so many more people. You would think that going to these big conferences that you would meet a ton of people. And in reality, it's the smaller ones where you
Where
get
you
more
meet
face
more.
time.
Yeah, I'm with you,
Yeah.
man. Agreed. Definitely agree. And there's so many good ones that you can choose from. And I mean, just in the South, there's
Yeah.
three or four great ones that you can go to. Um, I love going to Crop. I love Matt Dawson's just
Yep.
his heart for people is just like mine, and he puts on a solid event. And Lincoln put on Into the Woods for the first time this year, and that was just such a great time. Location is everything, but also like
Yep.
it was set to be small on purpose, and it was great to be around enough people to where if I
Hmm.
want to talk to every single person, I can. But and it was just it's the same kind of vibe. Like those kind of smaller events just feel more homey and more welcoming and
Yep.
not. But I mean, I say that, but at the same time, like I always feel welcome at a W Max. Don't get me wrong. I love
Hmm.
going. It's just different. Like it's hard to explain until you come out
Yeah.
to a smaller event, I would call all of us like the DIY, create, the
That's actually a
DIY
good a
events,
good way to describe it.
right? Because I mean, really, it's usually like one or two people, usually one who's putting on the thing, and you've got to do while yes, you have help, like you're the visionary and you're the person driving a lot of the stuff, and you know those kind of events tend to just have this more familial, welcoming vibe. And
Hmm.
but I mean, I couldn't do mine without the help I have. I mean, I have an awesome core team. I have an amazing volunteer coordinator and volunteer staff. And when you put them all together, depending on the amount of people that for the year, like it could be anywhere from 10 to 60 people helping me put the conference on, so there's not
Hmm.
just like, I'm not doing all of it. You always got to find the people that can help you do. I mean, case in point, you're doing my social media for me. So, you get help with the people that do great things. And I can't thank you enough for helping out this year. It's
Yeah.
been a lot of, I've seen the growth because of it.
Yeah, I mean, like if you think about it, the amount that we've gotten from Creative South over the years, and that, when I say we, I mean everybody, the entire community. You know, there's so much that we've gotten from learning experiences to great,
Nice.
friends and partnerships, and just like the like people have gotten amazing jobs from Creative South. I actually like I contribute Creative South dramatically to my career. I feel
Same, man.
like
I'm part of it.
yeah,
I'm with you, dude. I'm
yeah,
right there with you.
I feel like, and this is a true statement. I say that if I wouldn't have gone to Creative South in 2013, I do not believe that I would be at the point I am today in my career.
I've
I
heard that
still
several
say,
times.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I still probably would have, been pretty successful in what I would have done. I probably still would have gotten my first, couple of jobs and everything, but Creative South is what built me up. It built up my confidence. It built up my career path, and it made me lasting connections. I mean, the thing is that, going there for the first time, you are the person that put on the conference. Normally, the people who put on conferences or the people who are in charge of big events, they're, off in, one area, and you don't go talk to them and everything. I remember, I don't know if it was day one or day two, you like gave me a big hug. Like we had communicated, I think, through Facebook before the event. And you're like, oh yeah, Rocky. And I'm like, how does he know me? Like, what's going on here? And you just give me a big hug and everything. I was like, what is going on? And so like in those instances, now what would I say? 11 years later,
Yeah,
we sometimes jump on and play, Call of Duty together,
yeah,
especially during the pandemic, like
yeah.
the
Chat,
whole
catch
Creative South
up.
team.
Our
Yeah.
families know each other. Like
Yep.
it's not just like, oh yeah, I know Rocky the designer. Like, no, I know Rocky the person, and that's my point.
Hmm.
It's like, come to this conference to like truly get to know someone, not just and be inspired by all the people that are there. There's so much
Yeah.
inspiration around you, so much talent, and I mean, it is definitely wild. Like, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I want to do. I want to do that for as long as God will let me.
Yeah. And I mean, rewind back to spring 2021. We were moving cross country from San Diego, bought our house that we're
Yeah.
in now,
Welcome back.
and Mike Jones drove up. Was it 2 hours from
Yeah,
Columbus, something
2
like
hours from
that?
my house.
Drove 2 hours and helped us unload the whole truck. We are dead exhausted. And he's already there when we pull in. I feel like, or you were just pulling up, and you helped us unload the whole truck. You helped us not only unload the truck, you helped us move around furniture and everything like that. And I still
What you
am
do,
so
man?
thankful.
You serve other people, man. That's the whole.
Yeah,
That's my break bread, hug necks, serve others. It's that simple for me, and I was glad to do it. And I think the world of you anyway. But it was fun to just get there and kind of like. There's no design in that. There's not like there's no
yeah,
work. There's nothing. I don't want nothing out of it. It's just like, hey, I got a friend who's moving across country. Let's go spend some time with them, get them settled a little faster, and just catch up. And there's
yeah,
that's just like the part about when I say this, like building these relationships. Like we didn't talk shop at all. We
yeah.
just
No,
talked light. It was like being exhausted and then watching that rainstorm come in, like
yeah,
right at the end, and like I mean, literally last thing off the truck,
yep. Pouring
tornado.
rain.
I mean, it was
Yep.
crazy outside, and I was like, all right, I'm going home. I'm gonna take off, and I
Yeah,
drove home with that mess. But it was fun. It was a good day of hanging out, and so yeah, I think for people that come to Creative South, be prepared for a lot of hugs.
hmm,
That's just part of my personality that came out into the conference itself, and it's just a lot of hugs, a lot of fellowship, and I don't know. It's something that'll add to your life. I hope you get a lot out of it. If you've never been and you're an introvert, you might not be an introvert after it's over, but
yep,
we take it easy on the introverts. But at the same time, um, I've never seen anybody turn their circle away from someone that just was standing by themselves. I always constantly see the circles open up.
oh
Let
yeah,
them in. Let them be part of the conversation. And that's what I really enjoy seeing is that kind of vibe. So come hang
yeah.
out.
One Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite parts is actually talking to students because of
Oh,
the
they're
fact
the
that I
best.
was them,
They are
you
the
know?
best. That's so fun to watch, especially the ones that are scrambling for portfolio review because they know they're trying to win money that day.
Yeah.
And we, for those that don't know, the foundation gives away three scholarships at Creative South, $2,000 scholarships for two college kids that do the portfolio review. We have two separate scholarships that go out for that, and then we give a scholarship out to younger folks that aren't in college that are showing
Hmm.
promise, which is like an iPad prize for the folks that are, like the younger kids. And you're like, well, is there younger kids there? Sometimes there's younger kids there because the older we get, the more younger
Yep.
kids seem to start showing up at these things. And so people have brought babies, people have brought their younger kids, and really it's the kids that are already into art get brought,
Hmm.
sometimes, but not. I mean, it's very, very few. Mainly a lot of college students. I'd probably say we have 100, 120 college kids every year, and the rest are all professionals in various, like, right out of school, just starting their career, or folks that have been doing it longer than me, doing it 30
Hmm.
plus years that are there, and you got everybody in between. But it's a good place to just lift up those young minds and say, hey, I've been doing this for Rocky. How long have you been designing?
I've been designing for this year will mark 2 decades, 20
Okay.
years.
Oh, 20 years.
I started in high school. I started as a
All right,
teenager.
I'm talking about professionally.
My first freelance client was at 15.
You're killing me, man. All right. So, all right. So, say you got somebody like you who's done 20 years, comes
Yeah.
up to a kid who's still in school. Like
Yeah.
the information trade for that kid is invaluable. Like you're gonna get, if they just have a conversation with you and ask specific questions, they're gonna gain a lot of real world knowledge that
Hmm.
they're not getting in school. Not, I mean, I don't care what school you're at. There's a ton of that you're gonna miss because you've never done it in the real world, right?
Yeah.
So like having those connections of folks in the real world is invaluable for those students. So come hang out with the students too, and it's, if you're there and you're during portfolio review, which is usually at a lunchtime on like a Friday, walk around, look at their work, talk to
Hmm.
them. Even if you're not judging anything, like they don't care. They just they want to be able to share their work with the folks that are doing it for real. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to see them light up. Yeah, we love
Yeah.
having students. I don't know. My high school comes every year for like half a day as a field trip. He brings the guy that teaches graphic design at my old high school will bring his best students, the ones that are serious about going into it. He'll bring like 5 or 6 kids for like from like 9 to 3:30 as like an actual field trip day on the Friday, and they get so much out of it just being around college students and professionals. So um, yeah, if you've never been, it's a great time to start.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Tickets are on sale.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Tickets are on sale. You'll probably hear us talk about that multiple times in this
That's
episode.
right. Tickets are on sale.
Um, no, last year even because and that's the one thing too is the more that I've gone to Creative South, I've noticed that honestly I don't always even go to all the talks for one thing. In fact, I can't remember the last year I went to every single talk or the majority of the talks. Last year I was just sitting in the little vendor hall area, and constantly students or even young professionals kept coming up to me and just like recognizing me from social media and asking me questions.
Oh yeah.
Or it would start off me talking to one person or one group of people, and then when they left, the people who had already sat down, they were like, oh hey, so I heard you talking about this, here's my question. And honestly I love it. It feels good because it's giving back to them,
Definitely.
and it's hopefully putting them in the right direction and
I think
everything.
so. And I also think it's what you make it, right? Like
Hmm.
you can have folks like you who are like, all right, I'm gonna sit and do what I want to do and talk to everybody, and that's kind of why I'm here. Then you've got the folks who are like, my company sent me and I'm at every talk, but they're also
Yep.
sitting and talking to other folks. So it's a good mix of like fellowship to get to know people and share what you know, but also, we've been very, very mindful about getting speakers with specific topics each year that are kind of hot
Hmm.
topics, and making sure that we cover those for folks who are here who really just want to take home a lot of of information and learn a
Mm-hmm.
ton, there's that opportunity as well. So it's a good mix of both opportunities, and we're going to really try to make that uh, kind of even out more over the next couple of years.
Now, can you share a couple of those topics that you guys are going to have speakers talking about next year or
Yeah,
this year?
for sure. Like AI, VR, UX, UI, marketing, leadership, and design. Obviously, the obvious ones: branding, illustration,
Mm-hmm.
lettering. Um, those are off the top of my head. Oh, and
And
there
that,
was another one I just added. It was basically like how to shoot for social media. So like how to shoot short.
yeah.
I need to take it because I don't know enough about it. Clearly, but
No,
how to
I
do like
actually,
short
believe it or not,
segment
I still
video
need to.
shooting for social media for a
Yeah.
creative to help you
Yeah.
kind of get your creative presence a little better on social media for folks that use that stuff.
Yeah, and I think actually what like all those things that you just said kind of illustrate the point too about Creative South is it's not just about one specific creative field. You know, it's not just about graphic design or it's not just about lettering or illustration. It comprises a bunch of
Oh
different
yeah,
things. And to the point
totally.
where, you know, you can go there as a product designer. You could go
Yeah.
there as a graphic designer,
Oh yeah.
as a illustrator, as a motion graphic artist. Like there's you
Developers are
can
going to
go
get
there
something
for
out of it.
so many different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll the best part too is especially for those who do want to do some networking, who are freelancers or are on the job hunt, it's great because, you know, you could go there as let's say an illustrator and you meet product designers or marketers or, you know, graphic designers who need those services, who need, you know, that type of work done, and then you have potential leads, potential clients down the line. You just never know what can come of it.
That's it. 100%.